So this consumption of this commodity has gone up from about 2 grams in 1900 to 86 grams. So if we roughly assume that we eat 100 grams of fat, 800 calories from fat per day, what our ancestors used to eat was butter, lard, beef tallow, and sometimes suet. These are the traditional divinely healthy fats. And of the 100 grams of fat, 86 grams of that in an average American diet is coming from vegetable oils. And I want to ask you guys, is that healthy? Because here is sugar consumption. If you see sugar consumption, back in the 1940s, 1930s, it was already up to about 40 pounds per year per American. It has gone up. And I want to ask the question, could the seed oils or the plant oils be the primary driver of all these chronic Western diseases, heart disease? There's something called age-related macular degeneration. 286 million people are affected by that. Many of you in this room may have it. Diabetes and diabetic foot ulcers, dementia, cancers. That's a lady with breast cancer. Psoriasis, something that happens in the skin, and I'll tell you why the eyes and the skin are especially more prone. And obesity in general. Do you think that the primary driver of this could be vegetable oils in addition to sugar and processed food? They kind of go hand in hand. Now take a look at this slide. This is from the American Heart Association as recently as a few years ago. What are they telling you? What are the healthy cooking oils? Anybody? Vegetable oils, canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil. Does anybody have the temerity, the courage, or the audacity to question these organizations? Let's look at Harvard School of Public Health. Gets a lot of funding from mega donors, from our tax dollars. What are they telling us? There is no need to avoid healthy omega-6 fatty oils. These are vegetable oils. What about the Tufts School of Nutrition? Same advice. Well, what about the Mayo Clinic? All of these organizations that are charged with public health are telling you to eat food prepared in vegetable oils. In the 1950s, 1948 to be precise, the American Heart Association that this day has profits, or maybe revenue, I don't know which one, of $1 billion. $1 billion, get that into your head, was an organization that really was struggling. Nobody knew who it was. And Procter & Gamble, who are makers of Crisco, gave them $1.7 million from a contest, a radio show contest. Do you think that when you have conflict of interest of receiving that much money, that you would be in the kind of ignore some of the data and try to promote the use of these oils? Go back and see how many food companies that support the American Heart Association. I'll get into that a little bit later as to all these big organizations that we talk about say, reduce your calories from saturated fat to 7%. So we consume about 30% of calories from fat. What do you think we're going to replace those calories with if we are not supposed to eat saturated fat? We're going to use vegetable oils. Vegetable oils are predominantly heavy in omega-6. Omega-6 is corn oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, and they create molecules that are inflammatory, that create free radicals that are toxic. On the other hand, omega-3, which is also polyunsaturated, creates molecules that are anti-inflammatory, that dampen inflammation. However, don't get fooled by flaxseed. Flaxseed is a type of omega-3 oil called ALA, and our body cannot convert that ALA to DHA and EPA, which is the kind of omega-3 that our body can use. The enzymatic process to convert ALA, which is found in plant food, to EPA and DHA is lacking in us. We are very inefficient at doing that. Now, our bodies cannot burn this omega-6. They cannot use it for energy. So what happens is that it gets into our cells. It gets into our fat cells. It gets into our mitochondria. Researchers have looked at the amount of omega-3 in our fat cells in 1960s and then again in 2010. As our omega-6 consumption has gone up, the amount of omega-6 in our fat cells has gone up. It has gone up from about 7% in 1960s to about 23% in 2010. So if you're following an ancestral diet that is free of omega-6 oils that are industrially produced, what would your tissues have in terms of omega-6 content? And it was 3.8%. It was off the chart low. Some researcher went and studied a group of people that are between Australia and Hawaii called Tokalowns. And in them, who follow an ancestral diet, it was 3.8%. So even that 7% in 1960s was already too high. So here is an omega-6 molecule, and the reason it's called polyunsaturated is because it has double bonds. You can see those two double bonds that are highlighted in pink. And these double bonds create an oxidation reaction. So if you have an apple, it's exposed to air, oxygen gets into it, which is an oxidative, creates burn injury. You can see that the apple got dark. What's happening is that the oxidation process goes to and steals an electron from a molecule. So when it steals an electron, it has an unpaired electron. That unpaired electron is highly reactive. It creates free radical or burn injury or inflammation. And as these free radicals are forming, you will get cellular injury. And that cellular injury can lead to macular degeneration. I'm picking macular degeneration for a specific reason. Normal cell, lot of free radicals that are forming, perhaps as a result of consuming vegetable oils, the cell gets damaged. So it's no surprise to you that when you do experiments, vegetable oils get more easily oxidized compared to oils that are more natural in nature, like cocoa butter, olive oil. Olive oil can be obtained by just pressing an olive seed without using any heat or chemicals. Not so for these other oils like the vegetable oils, especially canola oil, which is touted as healthy oil because it not only has omega-6, but it also has an amount of omega-3 called alpha linolenic acid. These are all the vegetable oils with their omega-6 content. Look at them: sunflower, soybean, grapeseed, corn oil, so high in omega-6, the one that is inflammatory. Heating vegetable oils increases their oxidation. So here is corn oil heating, the oxidation goes up, soybean oil goes up, sunflower oil goes up. Canola oil, in the beginning, the oxidation didn't go up, so don't be too happy about that if you use canola oil, because we're going to give it special treatment, like I said. So repeatedly heating vegetable oil oxidizes it a lot more, as shown on the slide. And canola oil actually gets oxidized a lot more as it's repeatedly heated compared to palm oil. There is another process that happens in vegetable oils that we should know. When we heat it, we create what is called toxic aldehydes. These are compounds that react with our body. They are atherogenic, they're thrombogenic, they're bad for us. So 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of heating, you make more and more aldehydes, which are, as I said, toxic to us. Now I was interested in finding out whether you get aldehydes when you heat the oil that we have eaten before 1900 in all of human history, and that's beef tallow. Would it surprise you that beef tallow does not create aldehydes as much when you heat it? It does to some degree, but nowhere close to the vegetable oils, as shown on the slide. So beef tallow is to your right, soybean oil is to your left at 185 degrees for 5 hours. Look at the amount of aldehydes or toxic chemicals that are forming in vegetable oils out there. When we eat vegetable oils, they get incorporated into the retina, the cells of our eyes, into our skin. And what do our eyes and skin get exposed to? To sunlight. Heat. Is it oxidative? Does it damage us? Why do you think that there is such a dramatic increase in autoimmune skin diseases like psoriasis? Either taking or a friend taking an immunomodulator that the rheumatologist prescribed. Do you know what immunomodulators are? These are drugs that you take by mouth or you are injected with if you have psoriasis or rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or any variety of these conditions like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. Age-related macular degeneration, something that was unknown, almost never existed in human history. It's possible that the vegetable oils that are putting omega-6 in our eyes create inflammation, free radicals, toxicity, and lead to macular degeneration. So canola oil is here, and the makers of canola oil tout that it's a healthier oil. So canola oil is touted as being healthy because it's got omega-3 fat called ALA, plant source of fat that our body cannot use, as opposed to DHA and EPA that comes from fish. So you can see that a substantial portion of canola oil is the ALA, which is the omega-3. And the makers of canola oil say there is health benefit from ALA or omega-3. Why is this not true? So do you know that there are two processes of extracting this vegetable oil, and one of them people say is healthy. So one is that you put them in solvents. From crude oil you get hexane. You put hexane as a solvent into the seeds so that the oil is extracted, and through a process of heat in machines such as this looks like an oil refinery to me, they extract canola oil. So Jeff Knopp says fresh canola oil is bad, cooked canola oil is worse, and deep fried canola oil is the worst. He wrote to the makers of Oatly. Oatly is artificial milk, and it has canola oil in it to give it the taste of having fat in it. So Oatly says, hey, we don't use solvent extracted canola oil. We use expeller pressed canola oil. So let's see, when vegetable oils are expressor pressed, are they less bad? So this is what is happening to expeller press. It's heated, pressed, bleached, and deodorized. The heating is at 464 degrees centigrade for almost Fahrenheit for almost 90 minutes. So one of the studies was a Sydney heart study in which they took men, 1966 to 73, 7 years of observation, a group that was said, we're going to give you the healthy oil, the vegetable oil. It doesn't have saturated fat. You're going to live longer. And to another group you said, go eat the lard and beef tallow. We'll see what happens to you. This is what happened. They could not believe the data, so they did not publish it. There was a 62% higher chance of dying in the group that consumed vegetable oil compared to the people who ate traditional oils. There was another study that was not published. This is called the Minnesota Coronary Experiment. So what happened in this trial? They had over 9,400 men and women from ages 20 to 70. The intervention group was said, hey, we're going to give you the healthy vegetable oils. We're going to cut down your saturated fat. To the control group, they said, go ahead and eat what you want. And they said, when you do that, your cholesterol level is going to go down, and low cholesterol is good for you. And in fact, the cholesterol level did go down by 13.8% by consuming vegetable oils. If you want to reduce your cholesterol levels, one of the best ways to do it is to eat vegetable oils. So this was their hypothesis. Replace saturated fat with vegetable oils, you will decrease your cholesterol levels, you will decrease heart attacks. What do you think happened? There was an 86% increase in heart attack in people who consumed vegetable oils compared to people who said, eat saturated fat, you're going to die. There's another study called the Rose corn oil study, smaller experiment, 52 people, 2-year trial. The replacement of saturated fat with corn oil was done. There was a 92% increase in cardiac events and a 64% increase in cardiac death. Smaller study, take it with a grain of salt. So this is the Los Angeles veteran study. And in this study, roughly 850 men were taken. And they were given two options. Take vegetable oil. And when you take vegetable oil, it will be low in cholesterol. So even though there is no cholesterol in vegetable oils, the vegetable oils have something called phytosterol, which is plant cholesterol. And when we eat a lot of plant oils, the amount of phytosterol, which is not good for us in our body, goes up. So in this study, the comparison was between two groups, a group consuming vegetable oils and a group consuming animal fat. The amount of polyunsaturated fatty acids, which is marker of vegetable oil, was nearly 40% compared to 10%. Cholesterol was roughly half of what the saturated fat people used. There was an 82% increase in the risk of cancer by consuming vegetable oils in this group. We talked about repeatedly heating vegetable oil. When you heat it more, it causes more harm. So here is a group of rabbits. They were given unheated vegetable oil versus heated vegetable oil. The one in dark red is the repeatedly heated vegetable oil. So when you repeatedly heat vegetable oil, it causes more harm. You get more weight gain, as shown on this slide. And when you look at the liver of these rabbits, the liver of these rabbits was severely damaged. When you come to us, we check liver enzymes to see if you have fatty liver. These are markers of fatty liver, which are about 2.5 times higher with repeatedly heated vegetable oil compared to the group that got unheated vegetable oil. Our liver is responsible for making certain proteins that are good for us. One of them is albumin. Albumin is a protein through which we assess nutritional status. These livers were so sick that they were not able to make that protein. The albumin level was roughly 1/3. The total protein level was roughly half. Was given regular soybean oil that was not heated, which is in black. And the one in red was given repeatedly heated vegetable oil. And these mice were implanted with cancer cells in their thigh. So the cancer cells are put in the thigh. They're looking at the metastasis, in other words, the spread of cancer into the lungs. There was a 4-fold increase in spread of cancer into the lungs in the group that was given repeatedly heated vegetable oils. This is very important because I want to show this study for our next generation, your next generation. Piglets were taken, and these piglets were given various amounts of omega-6 vegetable oils. And in this, the neuron growth, because these piglets, their brain is growing, the neuron growth was much lower in different parts of the brain in the piglets that were given a higher amount of these vegetable oils compared to getting omega-3 from natural sources like fish. The growing brain needs DHA, needs omega-3. It doesn't function well when there is high amount of omega-6. A small amount of omega-6 is needed, and you'll get that small amount of omega-6 when you eat natural food. When you eat beef, you'll get that small amount of omega-6 that your body needs. But when you increase it from 1.2% of your calories, like in our ancestral populations, to 10.7 in the piglets, their brain did not develop well. And the reason I put this out is that what do you think that the infant baby formulas have these days as oils in them? The infant baby formula almost always include a vegetable oil as one of the first ingredients. The adult population, 6 out of every 10 individuals will have one chronic disease, either high blood pressure, high triglycerides, diabetes or prediabetes. And you would say, no, that's just because we are living longer. If you go back into the early 1900s, the only reason the life expectancy was lower was because there was a high amount of infant mortality. A lot of children did not survive by the age of 5. There was a high amount of maternal mortality during pregnancy. If you take that out, those people lived just as long. But for the first time in the history of United States, this great country, our children are going to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. It has never, ever happened before. The American Heart Association says exercise more. Are we exercising more? Yes, we are exercising more. Compared to 2000s to 2015, we are meeting the American Heart Association guidelines of 150 minutes of exercise per week. More individuals are doing that. Say, don't smoke. Since the 1960s to now, smoking has gone down. Eat less red meat. How many of you have heard that from doctors? Eat less red meat. And we have done that. Look at beef consumption. It's gone down. We are asked to eat more poultry. Our poultry consumption has gone up. We follow the advice that these organizations are telling us. Saturated fat has remained flat. Cholesterol intake has remained flat. We are eating more plant-based diet. This is the data. This is from the US Department of Agriculture. Now, for whatever reason, we are eating less grain since 2000. We have this thing about low-carb diets that has spread. So many people are using less added sugar. You can see that, which is in yellow. Meat, predominantly poultry, has gone up. The only difference out there is that vegetable oil consumption has seen a dramatic rise, an unprecedented rise. Now, this is the incidence of heart disease from 1900 to 2020, and you can see the red line. Heart disease has gone up. This is Chris Noby's slide. This is his work. It has gone up in parallel with the increase in vegetable oil consumption. Saturated fat has not gone up in that time frame. How can you blame saturated fat for this? What about diabetes prevalence? It's gone up. What about obesity? It's gone up. Cancer incidence has also gone up. We are eating less meat. We are eating less saturated fat. We are smoking less. We are exercising more. Why is this happening?
DoctorsToTrust.com.
And I find that when I cook beef, I don't really need to add oil. How many of you have cooked beef and have you really observed a need to add oil? You really don't need to go to the store to get beef tallow. And with a little amount of oil that is left in, I can even fry an egg. Same thing is the case with bacon. A lot of fat is left when you cook bacon. And you can use that. You don't have to go to the store and get lard. You would have enough just by cooking pork. Same thing with lamb. The suet that comes out of the lamb, there's a lot of fat in that. We have gone away from butter. Why did we do this? We make more vegetable oil than poultry and chicken, beef and veal, cheese and butter combined. So in other words, global production of vegetable oil is higher in tons, million metric tons, compared to all the other animal food combined. So this is from our world data. The amount of land, 1.4 billion hectares are used. About 12% of all land is dedicated to growing crops for human health. Of that, the most steadily increasing use of this land is to make vegetable crops. It's up to 300 million hectares. 300 million hectares that have been used. And this rise is steady and dramatic since the 1950s and 60s. So how do you get that land? You cause deforestation. You burn land so that you can use it for production of canola oil. You take away the habitat of animals, you remove biodiversity, you create ecological imbalance. Nature is very good. Have you ever gone to a pasture and looked at the green grass? Is the green grass any good for us? Can we eat it? Can we consume it? Can we get any calories from it? We can't. The green grass is used by ruminants, by sheep, cows. They eat that grass. They have bacteria in their stomach that converts that grass into fat. And they give us meat, milk, and cheese. That's how ecology was supposed to be. This is natural ecology. We are disrupting it because we think we know the answer better. We think that we can do better than what nature has done for all these million years. So the FDA, in all its wisdom, left a loophole. If you take a bottle of canola oil, go and buy a bottle of canola oil from the store, or look at it, it'll say 0 trans fat. But can I tell you it has 3.7% or 3.6% trans fat in it? How can it be 3.6% trans fat and still say 0 trans fat? The reason is because the FDA says that if it has less than 0.5 grams per 14 grams of serving, not even 0.5 grams per 100 grams, 0.5 grams per 14 grams, you can label it as 0 trans fat. How tragic. Are you guys angry?